All right, so we are at the end of the holiday season. We've eaten a bunch of sweets, we've been drinking, and we're about to set New Year's resolutions when a lot of people feel pressured to get into shape. People start to say things like, time to burn off all those calories, or we start to talk about earning what we eat. But according to experts, that kind of language can actually be really detrimental to the health we are actually trying to achieve. So joining me right now to discuss, Huffington Post contributor Alexandra Frost. And Alexandra, you just interviewed a number of fitness experts and nutritionists, and you wrote an article about this. So Alexandra, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So let's get right into it. What are some more of the toxic phrases that we're talking about here?
Yeah, I actually got the idea for this the day after Halloween when I was in a fitness class and the instructor started off with, let's work off all that candy. And I just that struck me in a strange way. And I wondered if other people thought that same way too, that maybe that wasn't the most ideal way to think about exercise. And so I started to ask experts, and they did confirm that that really was a negative mindset to try to connect having to work off the food with the exercise, and didn't lead to long-term exercise consistency and enjoyment.
Very, very interesting. It feels like mindset is such a key when you want to get into shape and feel healthy. And one of the nutritionists you talked to said this language actually backfires. So what does that mean?
Yeah, one of the people I talked to, Emmy Keefe, she is a Boston-based diet specialist and nutritionist. And she talks about how there's so many other effects of exercise that we should focus on if we want to make it a consistent habit, such as cardio health, mental health, emotional health, just having structure to your day and having social relationships that are formed, and that connecting it to that punishment mindset will really decrease your motivation to want to do it. And even things like having a stress effect that leads to digestive issues. So it can really be harmful to your body and to your mental health to connect exercise to a punishment.
Interesting. And you also write about how, this kind of language promotes harmful eating mindsets, right? So can you expand on that and explain that more?
Sure. One of my favorite experts I talked to, Alyssa Royce, she owns Rocket Community Fitness in Seattle. And she talked about how in her gym, they don't talk about food in a way that you have to not eat it or not enjoy it. In fact, she encourages people to go enjoy food at the holidays and not try to be super restrictive. And then separately to exercise so that you feel good. And for all those reasons we talked about, without necessarily connecting the two or having to work off the holiday food.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we don't want to, shame anyone who's, trying to get healthier, including ourselves. So, what do experts recommend, changing our language to? What should we be telling ourselves when we're trying to get healthier?
Definitely. I think one thing that all the experts mentioned was paying attention to how food makes you feel. So not that you have to not eat anything or that you should just eat everything, because, likewise also potentially harmful, but more that we should pay attention to the way our body feels after we eat certain foods. If we are overeating or feel too full, what that does feel like. They gave some concrete tips, like if we are drinking multiple cocktails, just to have a glass of water in between to help our body process them. And then to change the mindset away from shame and to think more about food neutrality, which was an interesting term to learn about, and that we can just eat food because we're human. Alyssa, like I mentioned, said, because we're human, we can eat food. We don't have to deserve the food. So just being able to eat food, enjoy food with our family, not being so worried about it. And then separately, sticking with an exercise schedule that's consistent, but not focusing so much on calorie burn off or punishment from eating holiday food.
Yeah, give yourself some grace, if you will, right? Exactly.
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. All right, well, Huffington Post contributor Alexandra Frost, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And if you want to learn more, we've got Alexandra's article on our website, fox13seattle.com.